Hey now, today I am brewing a Kölsch-Style ale. So this is a light hybrid ale, so I'm going to be using a Kölsch yeast strain and fermenting it kind of warmer than you would a lager, but a little colder than you would tend to do an ale. Now, what I'm going to be doing for this to start off with here is show you the malt. So what I'm going with is a Weyermann Pilsner, Continental Pilsner. This stuff makes awesome beers, and it's a pretty complicated grist because it's 100% Pilsner. So my first move is just to get this all milled up here. If you want to see a walkthrough of my Monster Mill 3M Pro, you can check out my video on that. But for now, I'm just going to get this going. So that'll just take a couple of minutes, and when we come back, we'll be ready to mash in. Alright, so I'm ready to mash in. For the water, I didn't treat it at all. It's simply filtered water. The water here in Calgary is reasonably hard, and it's actually a little bit less than would be ideal for this particular style. However, it should work out just fine. It has in the past, and I'm going to go with that. Now, I'm going to just dump in all my beautifully crushed malt here and start to stir it up. So with this, I am going just all Pilsner because I'm just wanting a really nice soft, grainy, malty character, which is going to be the dominant character in this particular beer. I've done this before with some character malts, like, you know, a few percent of Vienna or something like that, just to give it a little something extra, but I really do prefer it just really plain. So I'm doing a protein rest on this because I find the Weyermann malt, every now and then, it seems like it does need a protein rest just to help ensure a bit of a clearer beer, and as a Kölsch is a style where you're looking for a lot of clarity in your finished product, I'm giving this every chance it can to achieve that. So protein rest at 51 degrees Celsius, or somewhere between 122 and 125 Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes or so, and then I'll start to step up towards my saccharification rest. Well, look at that. Really nice little recirculation happening in there. And this is some pretty cloudy wort here at the moment, but of course we're just doing that protein rest. Later on, partway through the saccharification rest, we should be looking quite a bit clearer here. So, all right, there we go. Meanwhile, here in the incubator down in the brewery, I've got some Brewtech CL450 Kölsch yeast coming along here beautifully. It's going to be enough. I'm just going to split this 50-50 between the two carboys for this 10-gallon batch. Yeah, so this is definitely ready to pitch once the wort is all finished up and at pitching temp. Beautiful wort. Okay, so after that 20 minutes, we're going to get this ramping up to 65 degrees Celsius or 149 Fahrenheit, and that'll just give it a really nice sack rest there, just to get everything converted and make this hopefully a fairly attenuable wort. Alrighty, so we just hit 65 Celsius or 149 Fahrenheit, so now I'm going to sit here for around an hour and let this do all the starch conversion. So, sweet! Well, after an hour of mashing, you can see that obviously that is fully converted. Look at how clear that is. That's gorgeous. So now I'm going to mash out, so I'm going to take it up to 75 Celsius or like 168, 169, yeah, 168 Fahrenheit, and let it sit there for 15 minutes. And we're ready to sparge. Well, mash out is complete, and I have begun the fly sparge. Look how crystal clear that got. I still haven't run any of this off, so this is the original wort that you can see in there. So, what I just had to do here, this was my mash tun lid that I popped over onto the HLT, or sorry, onto the boil kettle. The HLT lid is over on top of the mash tun, and then I just took my boil kettle lid and threw it on top of the HLT just to keep it nice and warm. So I've got this filling up here now with the fly sparge. I've got up about high enough that I can start to run off into the boil kettle here. And yeah, once I get up high enough on the system here that I get up right around here, that's when I like to start to engage the boil. So I'll do that, get this heating up, and we'll take a look when we're getting closer to the boil time. And flame on! There we go. Woo! Look at that little sight glass. And we have hit a boil, I'd say. Just gonna wait for a minute or two, make sure that this is dialed in just how I like it. And yeah, so the 90 minutes starts now. Our first hop edition is going to be at 60 minutes remaining. So there we go. Look at that beautiful white head. Awesome. All right, so it's time for the 60-minute edition. Our bittering hops here will be Magnum, which will give us just some nice, nice, clean, neutral bitterness. I've got 30 grams in here of 11.8% alpha. Whew. Very exciting. Excellent. Okay, so that first hop edition with that Magnum, that was going to pull off about 22 to 22 and a half IBUs. Now with 15 minutes left in the boil, I'm adding some Hallertau hops here, and these are only 2.3% alpha acidity, so it's only going to add about 4 IBU. Not a lot. This is really just for flavor and a hint of aroma, and then we're going to throw in some Saaz right at flameout here. And with just 10 minutes left here, I'm going to be adding some super moss that I just dissolved in 8 ounces of some reserved wort when I was first running off, and that should help hopefully with some clarification. All right, so it is time for flame out, and now I'm just going to add some hops. I've got 56 grams of some Saaz hops here for just a little bit of an aromatic punch, hopefully. And now I'm just going to have to put this down so that I can use my stainless spoon and whirlpool this, get it covered up, let it sit for about 15 minutes. All right, so I'm all set up and ready to run off here. I've got the plate chiller all chilled down, so I'm just going to, again, running this solo right now, I'm just going to open this up, purge a little bit off into this bucket, and then start to fill my carboys. Well, there we go. So I'll fill up both of these carboys and then get them set up and heating up to pitching temperature. Well, there we go, the original gravity. So I was aiming for 1048, and since we measure below the meniscus on this, I nailed it. That's awesome. Well, these carboys are nearly ready for yeast pitching. They're just about up to temp. I've got them with heat wraps and temperature controllers, and we're going to keep them going at 60 Fahrenheit initially. And once they're well underway, I'll probably slowly ramp up to the mid-60s, just so that they fully attenuate by the end of fermentation. So just before I go to pitch, I'm going to really rock the heck out of these and aerate them that way. I'm going to be giving basically a 2-liter pitch each of that CL450 Kölsch yeast strain, so it's a good amount of yeast going into each of these, so I'm not super concerned about oxygenating or anything like that. The simple aeration will definitely work. And when we check on these next, they will be fermenting. 24 hours after pitching, we're sitting at 61 degrees Fahrenheit. I just turned it up at 1 degree this morning, and definitely fermenting. But it's just funny when you have it fermenting this low, how the krausen kind of takes forever to like actually establish and get all thick and frothy. Well, plugging away at 61 degrees Fahrenheit, we've got a nice healthy looking krausen situation going on here. Beautiful. Well, these guys are basically done. I'm going to be transferring those, transferring those to kegs. Before I do that, I'll end up just getting a finishing gravity on it, and I will report in once that's done. If you want to check out my video on how I actually like to pressure transfer these, you can check that out. So let's see what they look like once I get that gravity reading. So the Kölsch turned out with a finishing gravity of 1010, and I'm very much excited about that. I then went ahead and transferred it into a corny keg, chilled it down, gelatified it. You can check out my video on that if you want. This is 2 weeks later. I sanitized this particular corny keg. Also got a video on that. And I'm transferring into this bad boy here. And once it's in here, we're going to get it on tap and see how it actually turned out. Okay, so I carved this beer up really nicely. I'm very excited to try it out. I just kind of left it on tap here for a couple of days before I actually go to try it out. So I'm going to be pouring this into a traditional Stange glass because that's how they should be served. So here we are. just like so. I mean, and look at that, like crystal clear, absolutely beautiful. Nice head on it. No, it's such a beautiful example of the Kölsch style here. It's a little grainy, a little bit of still kind of soft, almost sweet maltiness coming through from that Pilsner in addition to the graininess. And those Hallertau hops for flavor, and that Saaz just there for a little bit of hop kick in the nose. It's awesome. I mean, this is near the high end for the style for bitterness, but that's exactly how I like it. It makes it super, super crushable and drinkable. Yeah, one other thing. Whoa, what happened? Look, we're outside in the sun and the beer's multiplied because this is meant to be served with more than one glass at a time. So yes, anyway, this is an ideal beer coming up on late spring and all through the summer. It's beautiful, it's crushable, and meant to be enjoyed outside on a patio. So if you like this, subscribe. Lots of videos coming out every week, all kinds of topics here, particularly brewing. So yeah, till next time, keep it at 11.